Welcome to the Cultivation Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Hamill. This is season 5. If you've missed the other 4 seasons, go back and check them on our links and our websites and all the platforms, that sort of thing. But in season 5, we are talking specifically about words to live by, things that we need to implement in our life, our guardrails or guide rails on how to live, or things that we need to cut out or remove from our life. And today's episode, I have an incredible guest. Can't wait to introduce you to him, but let me just give you a rundown as how significant he is and what he's doing. So Jason Frenn is an international conference speaker. He's an author, world renowned, and goes all over the place, worked in places like Cuba, Mexico, all through Central America, South America, many countries, some in Asia, again, all over the globe. But we have him here for free, right? Well, you get to listen to him for free on the Cultivation Podcast. So, Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm Jason Frenn, the most undervalued podcast guest you'll ever hear.
No, I'm incredibly honored to have you here. And I even butchered your bio a little bit because just to save time, I wanted to get you on the screen. Less about me, it's more about you. So.
Well, it's an honor to be here, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to share some insights that we've experienced over the years, and we know that we'll have something very fruitful to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 2 words that we've picked for today. Some episodes have 1, some have 2, so we got a lot to cover in today's topic, and some great words. I actually, they're on my cheat sheets, by the way. If you're watching on YouTube, I have cheat sheets. I call myself out on that, but it just keeps me going in the right direction. So our 2 words, I'll give the kind of conclusion here at the front part. Our 2 words are integrity and compassion.
That's right.
Great words, things that we need more of in this world, more of in our lives, more of in our relationships, that sort of thing. But I took the time, looked them up, to see what does Webster say these words mean, right? And then we can dialogue a little bit about that. So integrity is a firm adherence to a code of moral or artistic value. So, right, it's a firm adherence to a code of moral or artistic value. It's an unimpaired condition or soundness, right? Or completeness, or the quality or state of being complete or undivided, right? So incredible words, integrity. So when you think of the word or hear the word integrity, what's like the first picture that comes to your mind, or even analogy or illustration that you have with the word integrity?
To me, it means doing the right thing when no one's watching. So the question is who are you and what attitudes do you have when you're driving down the freeway and there's no one else in your car? What are the words that you're saying to yourself and to the other drivers around you?
Sure.
What are the programs that you're watching when no one else knows that you're watching those programs? What are the things that you're looking at on the internet when no one else is watching? What are the things that are going through your heart? What are the emotions? What's the bitterness? Or how are you handling the struggles, the emotional struggles, the ethical choices that you make when no one is watching you? And what adheres you to that ethic code is this thing we called integrity.
Yeah.
It means that you're going to do the right thing when no one is watching you. And so I think that's a real simplistic way of looking at it. But when you think about it in that context of who am I when I'm alone? And am I really doing the right thing, although no one is watching me?
Yeah.
That is a person of integrity.
So you mentioned traffic and that sort of thing. So for those of you listening or watching, Jason and I both happen to live in Southern California, mostly known for our traffic. That is, we are world, global famous.
That's right.
I think there's only one road in China that has more traffic than Southern California. But and for me personally, I would say I'm a coach to the other drivers. That's what I do inside my car. I just kind of coach them. I tell them it's the skinny pedal on the right. Yeah. I encourage them. You use your turn signal. Yeah. And sometimes I throw in some adjectives because I don't know their names. I give them names.
Right.
I'm not going to quote them here today,
Right.
Because then we have to change the rating of the show. But nonetheless, when I was 14, 15, I did some construction work, some house framing with my brother-in-law. And we talked about integrity all the time in the construction world because one of the final pieces of putting a house together was like the stucco, the facade, the outside.
Right.
And the thing that they always drilled into us was the integrity of the structure,
Correct.
not the appearance of it.
Right.
So like what you're talking about, same vein, same line of things of what are you doing behind the scenes? What are you doing on the other side of your appearance or facade?
Right.
What's going on behind that? So this would just be my question.
And if I could just also add, the integrity of the house is what you can't see.
Yeah.
It's what the house is like when you can't see it, is the foundation. No one's looking at the foundation.
Yeah.
No one's looking at the beams. No one's looking at the framing of the house. They're looking at the stucco. They're looking at the crown molding, but the crown molding doesn't hold up the house.
Yeah.
It's those things that you can't see. So the question is, who are you when no one can see you? And that is the level of your integrity.
To take that one step further, and this is all unscripted, so not to camp out on housing and construction, but not the only time, it matters all the time, but the integrity of the house is tested during a storm, during a difficult time.
That's
now,
right.
Again, we live in Southern California, also famous not only for our traffic, but for our earthquakes. For those that are watching or listening, no, they don't happen every single day. But yes, I've experienced an earthquake, and honestly, it's when it's in the storm, it's in the shaking that the integrity of the house matters the most.
That's right.
And so a lot of times our integrity is not tested in the good times. Our marriage, the integrity of our marriage, the integrity of our character, the integrity of our honesty isn't tested when things are easy.
Right.
It's actually in the difficult times. So
Right.
which leads to kind of one of my questions, or kind of where I'd like to take this conversation about when we break our integrity. I don't know about you. I don't want to speak for you, but for me, there have been moments where I'm like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? That is not the person that I want to be, right? That is not the person that I am.
Right.
And you can't take words back, or you can try to apologize for them. And I think part of the human condition is that we all have broken our integrity at some point.
Yep.
But part of getting integrity back is owning that.
Correct.
Right? So what does that look like? Let's flesh that out. Talk about that.
Well, I think, first of all, you have to have a stand. You have to have a framework where you understand the difference between right and wrong.
Sure.
You have to understand what is just, what is unjust. I am a person whose convictions say that we live under what I call universal laws. That's something that I adhere to. I don't believe necessarily in social contract. I think that social contract is valid in many cases. It's where society comes together and they agree, not necessarily based on morality, but based upon certain conditions, that the speed limit should be 55, for example. They would say, well, there's a moral reason behind that, but in essence, it's more of a social contract. But under universal law, we believe that it's wrong to kill.
Yeah.
They believe that in every society. I've never been in a society that didn't believe that. Generally, they do believe that it's wrong to cheat on your wife or your husband, right?
Yeah.
It's wrong to steal. So these are universal laws that are sort of embedded into the human spirit. And some people would say, well, you're socialized to believe that. Whether you are or not is irrelevant to me. The point is that people know the difference between right and wrong. When you break that, as you mentioned, when you have this sort of a piercing of not of the veil, but you've broken that chain of your integrity, you make a choice.
Yeah.
Am I going to come clean, or am I going to skirt the issue? And those who skirt the issue obviously are lacking integrity.
Yeah.
But those who come clean and say, you know what, I need to own that. I need to ask for forgiveness, and that's the key. So you go to your spouse, or you go to the person that you've wronged. You go to the organization that you have, let's say, confiscated funds from, or whatever the issue is.
Yeah.
The IRS, whatever. And you say, you know what, I need to come clean. I'm going to own this. This is my responsibility. I made the choice. Forgive me. And I'm willing to suffer or deal with the consequences. I don't know how many times, Tom, in my personal life with my family, I went to my daughters. I have 3 daughters. And I said to my kids, today, Dad blew it. man, I'm sorry. You were right. I was wrong. I overreacted, or I behaved in such a way that was inappropriate, and I'm looking for your forgiveness. And there are a lot of parents who refuse to do that because of pride. But the one thing that I realize, the antithesis of integrity is really pride. And if there's a bank account that we all have in terms of lots of funds, it's the pride account. And there's an abundance of fun. We're all billionaires when it comes to our pride. And so every time you ask for forgiveness, what you're doing is you're making a withdrawal from an account that has an abundance of funds. And so it's okay to ask for forgiveness, because that will help reestablish your reputation and also reestablish that connection and the trust that people need in order to see you as a person of having integrity.
What I find so fascinating about this is that people who break integrity tend to trust others less. Right. And so it's kind of interesting. There have been moments in my life where I have been accused, my motives have been accused. And I'm thinking, where would this come from? Or maybe if I'm taking personal responsibility here, I've accused other people's motives. And it's the bottom line is that where it comes down to is that we tend to accuse people or others of what we would do in that situation, based off our own integrity or lack thereof. And so it's funny, the more broken our integrity is, the more we think suspicion on others.
Correct.
And so I've repented or apologized to my kids and my wife and other people of like, that even if it was accidental, hey, I certainly wasn't meaning that, but you perceived it that way. Let's get that taken. And it's the more I own my broken integrity, the more trustworthy I become. And the more I trust others, because there is it's kind of interesting. One of my best friends growing up was somebody I got into a fist fight with first. Right. And I know that sounds so cliche-ish, and it sounds, to truly know someone, you have to fight with them and really that bond. But I mean, we fought on our street that we grew up on. We were neighbors, that sort of thing. And then, but once we got into that fight and got over that fight, we all kind of had a laugh about it. And then we were inseparable for the remainder of really elementary school until we kind of both moved out of the neighborhood. And the reason for that bond was that once we had gone through that conflict and got over that, we built and established a trust and integrity in that relationship. And so it was like, when I owned up to the broken integrity, it actually built the trust that I was suspicious of from before. So we have another word here, as we've talked about integrity, unless you have any final thoughts on that.
No, I can think of politicians, and I can think of even preachers that have pointed the finger at other preachers and accusing them of certain things when they were doing the same things that they were accusing the other guys of doing. And so what you're saying is absolutely true. We tend to be lacking in trust in the areas where we suffer. Because we think, well, if I'm suffering, they have to be suffering. And when we are very apologetic and are living a transparent life, then this is the interesting part. People, when we live a transparent life, find it easy to size us up. And people will forgive a multitude of sins as long as they think we're being authentic. And genuine people will automatically win the hearts of those who follow them. And those who are disingenuous, people might not be able to put their finger on it, but eventually they'll say, there's something not right here and I can't put my finger on it, but I don't necessarily trust that person.
And that is really the true value of walking in integrity, is that I don't have to put a mask on. That I'll own my stuff when I break it, wherever that is. I'm making that my mission in life, and people easily can size me up and just know. And it doesn't mean you have to like me. There's lots of people who don't like me, but they at least know who they're dealing with and what they're getting. The more I strive, which is a constant journey, to just walk in integrity. And so if anybody's watching or listening, I want to be really clear, at least for Tom, this will be a forever journey, because I have temptation to drive in the carpool lane when not everyone's there because it's moving faster. I want to get out of traffic. I have temptation to, there's all those temptations, but the little cracks in integrity create a fault line.
That's right.
And so, but knowing that, or at least assuming that we all deal with integrity issues, helps me specifically frame things for our next word, which is compassion.
Right.
And that I can say, I have compassion. I'll use Jason because you're sitting here today in the chair, right? I have compassion for Jason because I know what it's like to be on the same kind of journey. We're both men. We both have wives. We both have kids. We both only have daughters, right? So there's a lot. There's a lot of similarities.
Right.
We're both extremely good looking.
That's right. And young.
and young looking out. No, okay. Available today, my book, The Life You're Meant to Lead. It's finally here. It's finally available. You can get it from Amazon. You can get it from our website, ourcultivatedlives.com. We got it in the tree version. We got it in the e-version. We got it in the audio version where I read the book by the author, The Life You're Meant to Lead, a powerful tool. Pick up your copy today. But because I can, with integrity, look at other people through my own brokenness, it forces me to look at people with compassion. So let me read compassion and then talk about how we can treat others. It's a short definition. It's sympathetic consciousness of others' distress, that we are together with a desire to alleviate it, right? That I am joining you in your distress, working together to alleviate that distress. So it's a sympathetic consciousness of others' distress, and intentionality of alleviating that. So with compassion, we can actually serve people. We can forgive people. We can treat people differently.
Correct.
And really, something I'm really passionate about is we can let go of offense.
Right.
Not a fence, but offense.
Offense, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Zig Ziglar has been sort of a remote mentor for me.
Okay.
I've had probably half a dozen mentors, some of them very close, and Zig would be one of those that were at a distance. I'm good friends with his son, Tom. Tom has been a friend of mine for more than a decade now. And Zig would always say that there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is really feeling what the other person feels, right? So if you're seasick, and someone is on the same ship with you and they're seasick, you walk them over to the side, and when they hurl, you hurl because you feel what they feel.
Yeah.
Whereas empathy is leading the person over to the side of the ship. When they hurl, you give them a glass of water, you put your arm around them and say, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
So the thing is that there's a fine line between being sympathetic where you don't want to become codependent.
Sure.
And empathetic where you want to assist people through this crisis. And compassion for me is really having empathy on those who suffer, those who are struggling, the distress, as you mentioned before. And the reason why that is key is because when we coach or we lead and we're trying to lead people towards transformational decisions, towards transformational changes in their life, and we become too sympathetic and wound up in the world, then we say, yeah, life is really tough. And the economy is turning sour and the pandemic is really overwhelming until pretty soon we ourselves are feeling the same impossibilities that they're feeling. And now we can't help them.
Sure.
Whereas when we're empathetic, we say, you know what? I understand where you're at. I understand that, and you, like you said, you're a male, you're a father of only girls. Blessed am I among all women because I've got 5 in my house. I got my wife, my 3 daughters, and a female dog.
Yeah.
And yet you can see me and say, I see a way through this, Jason. I can see a way through this for your family. I can see a way through this in the pandemic. I can see a way through this as you build your business. I can see a way through this, and let me be here to help you in those steps. Because even though I'm moved by compassion to help you, I'm not going to be governed by the circumstances that are impeding you at this point. And there's a fine line there. But I think everyone who is in leadership, everyone who wants to move forward, has to make that distinction, and that doesn't belittle anyone's feelings.
Right.
We're not belittling anyone's feelings. We're just keeping proper perspective. In DBT, they call it having what's called a wise mind. A wise mind is the ability to understand the circumstances, feel those circumstances, and yet still keep your eye on the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's really the key as we have compassion on those who suffer.
One of the things that we try to generate through all of our resources, the Cultivation Podcast, the book, all these different resources, is that we're trying to cultivate purpose or awaken purpose in our audience and one another, that sort of thing, really with the idea that when I am fully living out my purpose, the world is a better place. Mankind is served by me being awakened or cultivating the purpose of my life, because I believe in one creator, God. I believe that we're all created not by accident, but on purpose, and that I'm the only one that can fulfill my purpose, right? And so when I accept my purpose, start fulfilling my purpose, it will impact people's lives. It will bring, hopefully, joy and energy and meaning into people's lives when I am fully awakened and expressing the purpose on which I'm put on earth, right? And so as we cultivate that, there becomes an element of compassion for people who maybe they haven't yet awakened to their purpose.
Right.
Maybe they haven't yet realized they have a purpose, and maybe they are on a different they're at a different space on that journey, a different place on that road. And so when it comes to compassion and how we can empathize with people, one of the areas that is really important to me is that I didn't always know why I was put on earth. I wasn't always cultivating that purpose in my own life. And so to see someone else, it's easy for me in my level of comfort or success or achievements that I can start looking down with criticism of like, hey, pick yourself up. I did it. You can do it too. Right. And go, but wait, I guess the kids today would say, when I wasn't yet woke, I'm never going to say that line again because it doesn't sound right coming from me. But, and for those of you that are watching, there's people behind the screen, behind the camera making fun of me right now, but they're here helping me, and I hope they stay woke. But anyways, nonetheless, have compassion on me. I'm trying to stay relevant, that sort of thing. And I have teenagers in my house, so that's part of that. I am trying to serve people as you are trying to serve people. So we're getting ready to get to this in just a second. I'm going somewhere with this. To awaken to their potential, their possibility, and ultimately their purpose on earth and as a part of the human story.
Right.
And so the reason that we serve is not for the limelight. It's not for the cameras, even though that sounds funny because we have cameras on us right now, but it's really to awaken humanity. And I don't even mean that in the masses. It's to awaken the one to their purpose, their passion, and their possibilities. So with that said, I know that you serve people in this kind of capacity, again, as we said at the top of the show, all over the globe, speaking, sharing. You host a radio show. You've authored, I don't even know how many books. I see them on your bookshelf because Jason works out of an office that's a part of my office building as well. And so we see each other often, that sort of thing. So tell our audience just real quick, this is the commercial break. How do we find you? How do we listen to you? Where are you at on the web, on the radio? Absolutely. And give us the plug of who you are, because I just know, again, part of the reason of having you on this show is that our purpose, our mission, how we serve people, is so much alignment and frequency and go in the same direction. So how can they find you?
It's really easy to find me. All you have to do is just Google my name, Jason Frenn, and the first 6 pages of Google are dedicated to anything that has to do with us. I've authored 6 books. You can find them at Amazon. One is called Power to Change, Breaking the Destructive Patterns in Your Life. Another one's called Breaking the Barriers. Another one is called Power to Persuade. Another one's called Become What You Believe. I wrote another one called The 7 Prayers God Always Answers. All the books are great. Some of them are for business. Some of them are based on spirituality, but I know they'll be a great encouragement to you. I want to also mention what you said, which I really wanted to piggyback off of that, and that is understanding this concept of who one is and what their purpose in life is, and that really has to do with this topic of compassion. We talk so much about discovering one's golden thread. The golden thread is what you were wired to do. It was what you were mandated to do if you believe in a great designer or in God, like I do. I believe that everyone has a prime directive, as they would say in Star Trek.
Yes.
Or a golden thread. And the thing is that most people, and they commit a significant error when they say this, they say, follow your passion. Go after your passion. And if you said this on the podcast, forgive me. But people who say that all the time make a grave mistake, because it's not your passion that is so important. American Idol has proven that to us. If you've ever watched the first round of qualifications, the first round is very entertaining.
Yes,
but it's very painful.
Round. Yes.
Right. It's very painful, right? But these people are doing what? They're following their passion. Instead, I tell people, no. Find out for your mom, your dad, and your best friends and the people who love you, who don't necessarily have a dog in the hunt, what your greatest gifts are.
Yeah.
What you fall out of bed doing better than anyone else in the world, regardless if you like it or hate it.
Yep.
Right? And then figure out a way to fall in love with that.
Yeah.
Figure out a way to become passionate about that. And you will then discover what your golden thread is.
So
right?
true. Yes.
And you will make more money. You will be more satisfied. You will help more people. When I was in high school, I hated communications and I hated public speaking. I just was terrified of public speaking. But every test I took said, you'd be good at public speaking. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not for me. It's just not for me. And then I figured out a way to fall in love with public speaking.
Yeah.
And now I speak to probably 250,000 people a year in live events, love public speaking.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, because I believe in chemistry and I believe in romance and the whole bit, love at first sight, I believe in all that.
Yes.
But sometimes you got to learn to fall in love with the gift that you already have.
Yeah. I have not said follow your passion because I think passion can be seasonal.
Yep.
It's true in romance. It's true in your job. Anybody who started a new job knows that passion can be fleeting, and you have to find new ways to ignite your passion.
Right.
And you literally have to fuel your passion.
Correct.
Right. You got to stoke the fire. You got to find ways to fuel it. That's why I continue to date my wife, because passion is fleeting. I got to refuel that tank.
That's right.
You got to find new ways to fall in love with your job. You got to find but your giftings, your talent, it's so true what you said. I so appreciate you saying that. So for those of you, he talked about where to find his book. Google his name. You saw the links on the bottom of the screen there. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to put those in the show notes for those that are listening on the podcast platform, that sort of thing. So you could just click those to find him. And let me also say, a lot of Jason's resources are in Spanish as well. He does a Spanish language radio station. And so for those of you that Spanish is your primary language, you're more comfortable with that, or if you're still just trying to learn Spanish, you can find all of those same resources there as well. And I would strongly encourage you to buy the books, check out the radio show, check out all those resources. And if you get a chance to hear him speak live, I will say this personally, not only is it entertaining, which it is very entertaining, he's a phenomenal storyteller and communicator, more than he gives himself credit for, but it's very impacting, motivational, and it changes lives all over the world. So
thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Kind.
Yeah,
very kind.
Absolutely.
Kind words.
Hey, thanks for joining us today for this episode of the Cultivation Podcast. We would love to hear from you. So maybe drop a comment or share your story of integrity or compassion, or even how this episode has impacted you. Put that in the chats. We read those comments. We respond to those comments. And would you hit the subscribe button? Also, the share button. We're always trying to multiply our audience and get this cultivation journey out there with as many people as possible. That is this episode of the Cultivation Podcast. Thanks for checking us out today. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the incredible content we have coming out. Also, we'd love to hear from you in the comment section. We read those, we respond to those as we journey together in the cultivated life.